Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center. And today we're going to be taking a look at a few all-time classics from one of our favorite companies, and that's Spyderco. Let's check them out. Spyderco is a company that has a long history of not being afraid to take risks. And the way they pulled together emerging elements in their early years, such as synthetic handles, pocket clips, and one-hand opening blades, the way they merged all these things together into one knife really changed the landscape of the knife industry in ways that we can still see today. They're famed for their precise edge geometries and most recognizable for their leaf-shaped blades and trademark round hole opener, which is an elegant solution for a one-hand opening blade that allows left or right-handed use without the need for protruding thumb studs. They've had a lot of great models over the years, but here are a few that we think are some of their all-time classics, their greatest hits if you will. Some of these designs have been constantly tweaked and updated over the years, which shows their commitment to constant quality improvement, which allow these designs to change with the times and stay just as relevant today as they ever were. First up is a twofer, and that's the very closely related Delica and Endura. I'm going to talk specifically a little bit about the Delica first, and one of my favorite things about this knife is this is a great catch-all recommendation. No matter who's asking for a suggestion, I know I can pretty much say get a Delica and call it a day, and here's why. First off, it provides us a very good blade length for EDC, with a size that can be taken almost anywhere. The base models feature VG10 stainless steel, which holds an edge very well, still pretty easy to sharpen, and can take a wickedly fine edge as well. It also sports a full flat grind, which makes it a very efficient slicer, which, let's be honest, that's the thing we really need to do most with our pocket knives. You can see this model here features a green handle, and that's another area where the Delica sets itself apart. Whereas most knives out there these days come in black, and you can also get the Delica in black if you want, Spyderco also sees fit to actually offer us options, with plenty of highly visible and colorful handles to suit all kinds of different preferences. It also features another element that Spyderco is known for, and that's their bi-directional texturing on these FRN handles. What's nice about that is that the knife can be nice and thin and still maintain a lot of traction. And that texture is going to be really appreciated in certain wet environments or grimy situations where you got to put a lot of hard work in and you don't want to risk losing your knife. One of the other things that makes this a great catch-all recommendation is that it's not biased for right-hand use or left-hand use. It's a very good ambidextrous design. No matter which hand you're using, it's easy to catch your thumb in there and open the blade very smoothly. The second reason is the lockback that this knife uses. Again, very easy to use no matter which hand you prefer. And there are a few nice things that Spyderco does with their lockbacks that, while they didn't come up with them, they helped to pioneer. First is the mid-mounted position for the lock bar release. Whereas a lot of older lockback designs feature the release here at the back, some people found that depending on their grip, if they were holding on too tight to the knife, it would be easy to accidentally disengage that. By moving it to a mid-mounted position, that helps to alleviate that issue. And then furthering that mission, we have what's known as the David Boy dent here on the lockback, and it's essentially just a small cutout. Now this does two things. One, again, it makes it a little harder to accidentally disengage, but it also makes it easier to find that lock bar if you're not looking directly at the knife. It's easy to just slide your thumb along the back, and you can find exactly the position you need to press that in and disengage the lock. The last thing that makes this knife a good option for anyone is the 4-position pocket clip. No matter what your preference, whether you prefer to carry on the left or the right side, with the blade oriented tip up or tip down, this thing will accommodate whatever you're looking for. You can get all those same great characteristics in a slightly larger knife with the Endura. We've got the same great handle treatments, also available in a bunch of different colors, and if you look at the shape, you can really trace the DNA of this knife back to the original Spyderco Police, but the Endura has really eclipsed that knife several times over, and that's why this knife deserves to be on the list. Really, you can't go wrong with either of these two designs. They're hard-working knives at a working man's budget and something that every Spyderco fanatic should have at least one of in their collection. So after talking about those two knives, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about the Dragonfly too. And this features a lot of the same elements that make the Endura and the Delica great, including that bidirectional FRN, the Boy dent on the lockback, as well as different handle options. But this knife has a few other elements that have become staples in Spyderco's design language. The first is this large finger choil, and they've integrated it with the blade and the handle itself. And this is not meant to just be a place where you choke up on for specific moments, but it's an integral part of the grip. On the Dragonfly, this actually allows you to get a 3.5 finger grip on what is otherwise a very small and easy to carry blade. And because of that, it inspires a lot of confidence when you want to put some heavy cuts in. This knife also has Spyderco's deep carry wire clip, And even though on this knife it's not truly deep carry since it is mounted a little lower, this is a very unobtrusive design that blends in very nicely when you're carrying it. And that's one of the reasons that it's been so popular with Spyderco fans over the years. Also, another thing to talk about, the version that I'm holding here actually comes from Spyderco's Salt series. As I said at the beginning, Spyderco's never been afraid of taking risks, and that extends to experimenting with all the latest steels on the market just to see what they can come up with. And with virtually all their models, they have a tendency to put out sprint runs that feature those more exotic steels as well as handle materials. The Dragonfly isn't the only knife in the Salt series, but these blades have featured H1 steel or more recently LC200N, and they're both nitrogen-based metals that are virtually rust-proof, making them great options for maritime environments. Next up, in my opinion, is one of Spyderco's greatest EDC designs of all time, and that's the Native 5. Like the Dragonfly, this knife features that finger choil that allows you to get the full grip on the knife, but because of the way this is built, it's a lot more robust than some of those other folders. Again, we see a mid-mounted lockback, although no buoy dent in this case, but we also get a full metal backspacer and full dual metal liners, which really impart a lot of strength to this frame. Aside from that, this knife also features a ton of the things that make the Endura and Delica so great. Again, that mid-mounted lockback, as well as a 4-position pocket clip. We also get that excellent leaf-shaped blade with a full flat grind for excellent cutting geometry, as well as some nice jimping here on the choil and on the spine of the knife, making it very nice and easy to choke up. Another thing that we appreciate is this one is made in Golden, Colorado, USA Earth. You can get lightweight versions of this knife that have that bidirectional FRN just like those earlier knives, as well as heavier duty G10. This particular one is upgraded even further with their Blurple G10 and S110V steel, which provides just an absolutely insane amount of edge retention. Next up is a no-brainer, and that's the Paramilitary 2, which is an excellent hard-use tactical knife. This list certainly wouldn't be complete without this knife, but I actually prefer the newer Para 3. It's a little bit of a smaller knife, but for me, I feel it's a little better suited for EDC, and the handle ratios are a little bit better for my hands. But whether you prefer the larger Paramilitary 2 or the smaller Para 3, the reason they show up here is because they are the premier platform for Spyderco's compression lock. In the way it operates, you can kind of think of it as a spine-mounted liner lock, although it's even stronger. There's a small tab that sticks into the tang of the knife, so you actually have multiple surfaces of engagement, which creates a stronger lockup than the single surface that a standard liner lock has. But what's really nice about this knife is it enables safe, one-handed operation. Apart from that, you can still see all the great Spyderco DNA in this design. We've got that nice finger choil with that integrated thumb ramp behind the opening hole, as well as some nice G10 material. This one happens to be the camo pattern, a 4-position pocket clip, and in this case we even get an oversized lanyard hole allowing you to fit just about whatever you'd like through there. The next knife is sort of an offshoot of another one of those risks that Spyderco wasn't afraid to take, and that's the UK penknife. This takes all the signature elements of Spyderco's design vocabulary and puts it into a non-locking folder. That's right, this is a one-hand opening slip joint, which is a style that Spyderco certainly helped legitimize and popularize today. But the reason this knife has been so successful is it just plain works. Spyderco has learned a thing or two over the years about making a good blade design, and it certainly shows. We've got their great leaf-shaped blade, excellent slicing edge geometry, as well as multiple versions with upgraded materials. We also get that wire deep carry clip, which in this case truly is deep carry, making this a very discreet knife. There's also really nice ergonomics on this knife. It's nice and slim and handles very well. The point drops a little bit and it orients very nicely when you're opening boxes or packages. And since this is a non-locking knife, the choil pulls double duty here. It plays a very important role. When you're really bearing down on a slip joint knife, you always have to be careful that it's not going to disengage. That's where the choil comes in. It's a very elegant solution to solving that safety issue that some people have with non-locking slip joints. Next up is the Tenacious, which is a very affordable knife and shows you no matter what your price range, anyone out there can enjoy those great Spyderco design chops. This is a knife that's made in China, but when it first came out, it blew people away with the level of fit and finish that they were able to achieve at such a good price. Even today, it's probably my favorite option for a true working blade under the $50 price point. It's got a really good handle feel, as well as that full flat grind and a little more belly than some of their other designs. We get a very sturdy liner lock with full skeletonized liners, which just like the Native 5 imparts a lot of rigidity to this frame. You've also still got that 4-position pocket clip, although since it is a liner lock, this is a little bit more of a right-hand biased design. But overall, this is just a really well thought out and usable knife. One of my favorite little touches is the edge itself, which comes all the way back to the heel. Combined with the handle shape here at the front, it eliminates something that a lot of folders are plagued with. Usually there's sort of a dead zone on the folder because of the pivot itself, where it doesn't function either as a handle or blade. Now on some other Spyderco designs, the finger choils solve this problem, but the Tenacious doesn't need it. You can really get up right behind the edge, which is quite nice. All of these knives have stood the test of time very well and have definitely earned their place in Spyderco's Hall of Fame. And they also happen to be some of my favorites as well. But what do you guys think? Is there a model you think deserves to be on here? If so, make sure to let us know down below in the comments. And in the meantime, to get your hands on any of these great Spyderco knives or any of their other great designs, click the link in the description below to head over to KnifeCenter.com.